Akbarnama, the Book of Akbar. Abul Fazl ibn Mubarak. Abul Fazl ibn Mubarak. Abul Fazl ibn Mubarak presenting Akbarnama to Akbar, Mughal miniature. Abul Fazl ibn Mubarak presenting Akbarnama to Akbar, Mughal miniature. The Akbarnama, Persian, which literally means Book of Akbar. Akbarnama literally means the Book of Akbar. In Persian it is Akbarnama and it means the Book of Akbar, is an official biographical account of Akbar, the third Mughal emperor from 1542 to 1605, to 1605, written in Persian. It includes vivid and detailed descriptions of his life and times. The work was commissioned by Akbar. And written by Abul Fazl, one of the 9 jewels, that is Navaratnas. Abul Fazl was one of the 9 jewels or Navaratnas of Akbar's royal court. It is stated that the book took 7 years to be completed, and the original manuscripts contained a number of paintings supporting the text, and all the paintings represented the Mughal school of painting and the work of masters of imperial workshop, including Basavan, whose use of portraiture in its illustrations was an innovation in Indian art. Basavan, whose use of portraiture in its illustrations was an innovation in Indian art. So, Akbar's royal court. Abul Fazl, one of the 9 jewels of Akbar's royal court, wrote Akbarnama. It is stated that the book took 7 years to be completed, and original manuscripts contained a number of paintings supporting the text, and all the paintings represented the Mughal school of painting and the work of masters of imperial workshop, masters like Basavan, whose portraiture in its illustrations was an innovation in Indian art. Accounts. Akbar's reign was chronicled extensively by his court historian Abul Fazl in the books Akbarnama and Ain-i Akbari. 2 books, Akbarnama and Ain-i Akbari, and was chronicled by Abul Fazl, his court historian. Akbarnama and Ain-i Akbari, written by Abul Fazl. Other contemporary sources of Akbar's reign include the works of Badayuni, Sheikh-Zada Rashidi, and Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi. Other contemporary sources of Akbar's reign include works of Badayuni, Sheikh-Zada Rashidi, and Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi, Sheikh-Zada Rashidi, and Sheikh Ahmad Sirhindi. Akbar was a warrior, emperor, general, animal trainer, reputedly keeping thousands of hunting cheetahs during his reign and training many himself, and theologian, believed to be dyslexic. He was read to every day and had remarkable memory. Akbar was said to have been a wise emperor and a sound judge of character. His son and heir Jahangir wrote effusive praise of Akbar's character in his memoirs and dozens of anecdotes to illustrate his virtue. According to Jahangir, Akbar was of the hue of wheat. His eyes and eyebrows were black, and his complexion rather dark than fair. Antony de Montserrat, the Catalan Jesuit who visited his court, described him as follows. One could easily recognize even at first glance that he is king. He has broad shoulders, somewhat bandy legs, well suited for horsemanship, and a light brown complexion. He carries his head bent towards the right shoulder. His forehead is broad and open, his eyes so bright and flashing that they seem like a sea shimmering in the sunlight. His eyelashes are very long. His eyebrows are not strongly marked. His nose is straight and small, though not insignificant. His nostrils are widely open, as though in derision. Between the left nostril and the upper lip there is a mole. He shaves his beard but wears a moustache. He limps in his left leg, though he has never received an injury there. Akbar was not tall but powerfully built and very agile. He was also noted for various acts of courage. One such incident occurred on his way back from Malwa to Agra when Akbar was 19 years of age. Akbar rode alone in advance of his escort and was confronted by a tigress who, along with her cubs, came out from the shrubbery across his path. When the tigress charged the emperor, he was alleged to have dispatched the animal with his sword in a solitary blow. His approaching attendants found the emperor standing quietly by the side of the dead animal. Abul Fazl and even the hostile critic Badayuni described him as having a commanding personality. He was notable for his command in battle and, like Alexander of Macedon, was always ready to risk his life regardless of political consequences. He often plunged on his horse into the flooded river during the rainy seasons and safely crossed it. He rarely indulged in cruelty and is said to have been affectionate towards his relatives. He pardoned his brother Hakim, who was a repentant rebel, but on rare occasions he dealt cruelly with offenders such as his maternal uncle Mozam and his foster brother Adam Khan, who was twice defenestrated for drawing Akbar's wrath. He is said to have been extremely moderate in his diet. Aini Akbari mentions that during his travels and also while at home, Akbar drank water from the Ganges river, which he called the water of immortality. Special people were stationed at Soron and later Haridwar to dispatch water in sealed jars to wherever he was stationed. According to Jahangir's memoirs, he was fond of fruits and had little liking for meat, which he stopped eating in his later years. Akbar also once visited Vrindavan, the birthplace of Krishna, in the year 1570 and gave permission for 4 temples to be built by Gaudiya Vaishnavas, which were Madana Mohana, Govindaji Gobinada, and Jugal Kishore. To defend his stance that speech arose from hearing, he carried out a language deprivation experiment and had children raised in isolation not allowed to be spoken to, and pointed out that as they grew older, they remained mute. Akbar's court historian Abul Fazl, in the books Akbarnama and Aini Akbari, talks about Akbar. And other sources, contemporary sources of Akbar's reign, were from Badayuni, Sheikh Zada Rashidi, Sheikh Ahmad Zurhindi. Akbar was a warrior, general, animal trainer, theologian, dyslexic. So points are: he was a warrior, emperor, general, animal trainer, theologian, dyslexic. That is, he was read to every day and had remarkable memory. He has been a wise emperor, sound judge of character. Jahangir wrote effusive praise of his character in Jahangir's memoirs. And there are dozens of anecdotes to illustrate Akbar's virtue. Jahangir wrote of Akbar as hue of wheat, eyes and eyebrows as black, complexion of Akbar rather than dark than fair. That was what Jahangir wrote of Akbar. Anthony de Montserrat, the Catalan Jesuit, also described Akbar, who visited Akbar's court. Anthony de Montserrat, Catalan Jesuit, visited Akbar's court and had described Akbar. He told like one could easily recognize Akbar as king at first glance itself, going to the extent of saying Akbar has broad shoulders, bandy legs, suited for horsemanship, light brown complexion, like that. Anthony de Montserrat, the Catalan Jesuit, had described a lot about Akbar. We get a view that Akbar was not tall but powerfully built and very agile. He was not tall, powerfully built, and was agile, noted for various acts of courage. He was noted for various acts of courage. Then even his hostile critic Badauni described him as having a commanding personality. Badauni, Akbar's hostile critic, described Akbar of having commanding personality. Even Abul Fazl also described Akbar as having commanding personality. Akbar was notable for his command in battle, like Alexander of Macedon. And Akbar pardoned his brother Hakim. Shows that Akbar rarely indulged in cruelty and was affectionate towards his relatives. Akbar was extremely moderate in his diet. Any Akbari mentions of Akbar drinking water from Ganges river, and he had visited a lot of pilgrimage centers. According to Jahangir's memoirs, he was fond of fruits, that is, Akbar was fond of fruits and had little liking for meat, which he stopped eating in his later years. Akbar has visited Krishna's birthplace, Vrindavan. He even gave permission for 4 temples to be built by Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Those temples were Madana Mohana, Govindaji, Gobinada and Jugal Kishore. These were given permission to be built by Akbar. Gaudiya Vaishnavas were given permission to build 4 temples. They were Madana Mohana, Govindaji, Gobinada and Jugal Kishore. These were the temples which were granted permission to be built by Akbar to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. He carried out a language deprivation experiment. And about hagiography. During Akbar's reign, the ongoing process of inter-religious discourse and syncretism resulted in a series of religious attributions to him in terms of positions of assimilation, doubt, or uncertainty, which he either assisted himself or left unchallenged. Such hagiographical accounts of Akbar traversed a wide range of denominational and sectarian spaces, including several accounts by Parsis, Jains, and Jesuit missionaries, apart from contemporary accounts by Brahminical and Muslim orthodoxy. Existing sects and denominations, as well as various religious figures who represented popular worship, felt they had a claim to him. The diversity of these accounts is attributed to the fact that his reign resulted in the formation of a flexible, centralized state accompanied by personal authority and cultural heterogeneity. So, hagiography. The ongoing process of inter-religious discourse and syncretism during Akbar's reign. That is, during Akbar's reign, there were a lot of inter-religious discourses. Inter-religious discourses were conducted by Akbar, and the syncretism resulted in series of religious attributions in terms of positions of assimilation, doubt, or uncertainty. Akbar assisted himself or left unchallenged. Akbar was he had his position of assimilation. He was left unchallenged. He had his own ideas. Such hagiographical accounts of Akbar traversed a wide range of denominational and sectarian spaces, including several accounts by Parsis, Jains, and Jesuit missionaries. Parsis, Jains, and Jesuit missionaries apart from contemporary accounts by Brahminical and Muslim orthodoxy. Existing sects and denominations, as well as various religious figures who represented popular worship, felt they had a claim to him, to Akbar. So the diversity of these accounts is attributed to the fact that these accounts of various Parsis, Jains, Jesuit missionaries, Brahminical and Muslim orthodoxies attributed to the fact that Akbar's reign resulted in the formation of a flexible centralized state accompanied by personal authority and cultural heterogeneity. So Akbar's reign resulted in the formation of a flexible centralized state accompanied by personal authority by Akbar, but a cultural heterogeneity, a state of cultural heterogeneity. Religious policies of Akbar. Portrait of Mughal Emperor Akbar, invocation of a dua prayer. Portrait of Mughal Emperor Akbar, invocation of a dua prayer. Akbar, as well as his mother and other members of his family, are believed to have been Sunni Hanafi Muslims. Akbar and his family members were believed to have been Sunni Hanafi Muslims. Akbar's early days were spent in the backdrop of an atmosphere in which liberal sentiments were encouraged and religious narrow-mindedness was frowned upon. He was brought up in such a way that he had liberal sentiments and there was no room for religious narrow-mindedness. From 15th century, a number of rulers in various parts of country adopted a more liberal policy of religious tolerance attempting to foster communal harmony between Hindus and Muslims. From the 15th century onwards, a number of rulers in various parts of the country adopted a more liberal policy of religious tolerance. So from 15th century onwards, there was a lot of rulers were adopting religious tolerance policy for communal harmony between Hindus and Muslims. For a communal harmony, lot of rulers were promoting religious tolerance. These sentiments were earlier encouraged by the teachings of popular saints like Guru Nanak, Kabir and Chaitanya. The verses of the Persian poet Hafiz, which advocated human sympathy and a liberal outlook. So these religious tolerance sentiments were earlier encouraged by Guru Nanak, Kabir, Chaitanya, and the verses of Persian poet Hafiz, which advocated human sympathy. These all teachings of Guru Nanak, Kabir, Chaitanya and Persian poet Hafiz advocated a sympathy, human sympathy and a liberal outlook, as well as Timurid ethos of religious tolerance in the empire. This Persian poet Hafiz religious ideas gave a Timurid ethos of religious tolerance. Timurid ethos of religious tolerance in the empire persisted in the polity right from the times of Timur to Humayun and influenced Akbar's policy of tolerance in matters of religion. Timurid ethos of religious tolerance in the empire persisted in the policy right from the times of Timur to Humayun and influenced Akbar's policy of tolerance in matters of religion. Further, his childhood tutors, who included two Irani Shias, were largely above sectarian prejudices and made a significant contribution to Akbar's later inclination towards religious tolerance. Akbar's policy of tolerance in matters of religion were influenced by a lot of things, and his the ideas of the saints of his time. Not only that, his childhood tutors were Irani Shias who were largely above sectarian prejudices. They were not for sectarian prejudices. His tutors were Irani Shias, and those Irani Shias made a significant contribution to Akbar's inclination towards religious tolerance. Akbar sponsored religious debates between different Muslim groups. So, though he was a Sunni, he gave lot of sponsored religious debates between different Muslim groups, including Sunni, Shia, Ismaili, and Sufis. A lot of Muslim groups, including Sunni, Shia, Ismaili, and Sufis, were sponsored by Akbar himself some religious debates. They conducted lot of religious debates sponsored by Akbar himself. And the Parsis, Hindus including Shaivite and both Shaivite and Vaishnava sects, Parsis, Sikhs, Jains, Jews, Jesuits and materialists, but was partial to Sufism, all were sponsored religious debates in his court, but Akbar was partial to Sufism. Akbar proclaimed that the wisdom of Vedanta is the wisdom of Sufism. Though Akbar sponsored lot of religious debates, he proclaimed that wisdom of Vedanta is the wisdom of Sufism, for he had some partial sentiments towards Sufism. When he was at Fatehpur Sikri, he held discussions as he loved to know about other religious beliefs. One such day he got to know that religious people of the other religions were often intolerant of others' religious beliefs. This led him to form the idea of new religion, Sulikul, meaning universal peace. His idea of this religion did not discriminate other religions and focused on the ideas of peace, unity, and tolerance. So, during his course of time, he understood that lot of people were intolerant towards other religious beliefs. This made him form the idea of new religion, Sulikul, meaning universal peace.